welcome back to Breaking Barriers, the Mental Health Podcast. I'm Camila.
And I'm Lizzie.
And we are officially in season 2. Today's episode is very important. It's about women. It's about family. It's about postpartum depression.
We're going to be discussing postpartum depression, the difference between baby blues, postpartum psychosis, breastfeeding, so many different topics that you, our audience, actually requested to hear from us. And I'm so excited because, to be quite honest, I think I maybe harassed her at this point. But we have an amazing guest with us today. She is Dr. Jennifer Schell. She has more than 10 years as an obstetrics and gynecologist. She is a mother of 3 kids, and she is known in the Miami area as the postpartum expert. And we have her here today for you guys. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I harassed you.
You did not. You just were thankfully persistent because I was in my back to school
That's
circus.
how we get things done.
Yes. So let's start to know a little bit about you. What can you tell us about Dr. Schell?
Well, she's super cool. No, she will speak in the third person. No, I am a mother of 3, and I have been through everything being an OBGYN. For a lot of people, knowing is great, but I'm more of the ignorance is bliss sometimes. And I didn't have that bliss because I knew too much.
Yeah.
So I was very anxious during my pregnancies. And I went through it all. I had chemical pregnancies. I had multiple miscarriages, all of this before my first child. After that, nothing happened, which honestly, medically, it's kind of strange. I can't really explain why.
I was going to ask you, did they ever tell you why?
No.
Any explanation?
I had one miscarriage that I actually sent to pathology, and it was Turner syndrome, which is X0 for those who don't know. Those, the majority do not survive, but if they survive, they do live probably till adulthood, and they can have a lot of medical problems.
I think that's something that is happening a lot because I had friends, even my sister, everybody's having a little bit of a hard time getting pregnant. And while they do, the first baby is typically a miscarriage, or the baby doesn't grow. And then they're able to have another baby. Then she experienced another miscarriage. So I don't know if it's something in the air.
It's the age, I think. I think we're having babies later on.
Yeah.
After 35, those risks increase.
And you're at that point considered advanced maternal age.
Elderly.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what they like to call us, which I was
Elderly.
always one, except with my first maybe. I had them at 34, 36, and 38. So
I had my little one at 40. And every time I walked into the office, oh, are you aware that you are AMA, advanced maternal age? And I'm like, yeah, because you remind me every time I come in here.
wonderful.
I still have time then.
Yeah. So I went through it all. I did suffer from undiagnosed, or I guess I self-diagnosed it. And my partners, who are excellent doctors, did not believe me when I said, I think I have postpartum depression. The answer was, you're such a happy person. There's no way, you're just tired. I don't think so. I wasn't bonding with my child, which is huge.
That's a big sign.
Big no-no in the postpartum depression thing scale. If you are not bonding with your child, you need to tell someone. I remember I put my son in bed one time, like in the crib. I didn't hurt him or anything, but I put him in the crib. He was crying, and I'm like, I can't. And I went and I got my husband, which is good. I went and I got him instead of just walking away letting the kid cry.
Walked away,
I walked
right?
away from the situation.
You put him down safely. You walked away, and you got your husband.
Yes. And he came in. He was excellent. He's an amazing father, and he loves the newborn stage, unlike me, which is what led me to open my business that I will tell you a little bit about later when you ask me. If you ask me.
Yes.
But I'm telling you about myself right now so you understand why I came up with this business model. I went through that. I
was
did not know
the postpartum. Was it with your first
With my
child, your
first.
second? Okay.
With my first was the biggest struggle. And most of my clients, that's what happens.
Yes.
Either they hire me for the second or third because they had a really hard time with the first, or they thankfully know about me during the first and I help them. And then I help them with the second. And usually the second is easier. It's not everybody, but the majority of people, I think, in the postpartum second time or third time, it's a little easier because they know what's coming. I think they're mentally prepared for that, for the struggle that nobody tells us about.
Exactly.
Except me. I will turn blue in the face telling people it's not always easy.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin people's happiness or, eagerness to have their baby. I get it.
No,
It's a wonderful time, but it is exhausting.
There's a lot of classes that prepare you for the delivery, but what comes after, nobody does.
What I'm here for. So, sorry.
I want to take a moment so we can explain the audience what exactly postpartum depression is. So like Lizzie mentioned, there are 3 type of postnatal, prenatal type of depressions, mood disorders that happen. We have the postpartum blues,
the baby blues.
That one, it's supposed to go on its own. It's expected between the majority of
and it's the first 2 weeks.
Correct.
I will tell you definitely with my first, I suffered from baby blues.
Most women have it, and I want to call it something else. I want to call it
hormonal dump.
Perhaps
all those hormones are
the lack of sleep. When you deliver, your estrogen tanks, and you basically become postmenopausal, and that's why you have dryness in the vaginal area too, and the hair loss that occurs later. All of these things have to do with hormones, but it's also exhaustion, sleep deprivation.
Exactly.
I get depressed if I have sleep deprivation now that
you're happy, you're scared, you're terrified. You've come home with this beautiful baby. I remember family and friends coming to visit me, and I would cry for no reason. And it's because your hormones are out of control. And really, I will tell you, I diagnosed myself. I had baby blues. It lasted for about 2 weeks after I came home. And I remember thinking, oh my God, is this postpartum? But when I started going back to my DSM and looking, I said, okay, no, this is my baby blues. But
once it goes after the 2 weeks and even up to a year after giving birth, then we have, it's like major depressive disorders, all the signs and symptoms, but associated after giving birth. And a lot of risk factors, it comes with the support system, not having a strong support system, your husband, your partner, family, not having, maybe having a previous history of postpartum disorder or major depressive disorder. That's also a factor. And when you get diagnosed with this, it's not going to go away on its own. You need medication.
Yes. And I want to add postpartum anxiety because it's very underdiagnosed as well. And people don't talk about it as much. Postpartum depression has kind of become a little more popular and talking about it, but anxiety is a big one. And I had a mix of both. When you can't sleep because you think your baby is going to get SIDS, for example. It's okay. Every mom thinks about it.
Yes.
And every mom does the whole, is the baby
checking
breathing?
If the baby's breathing, and you go back.
Excessive. Every night. You're not sleeping because of it. You're not letting the baby nap because of it. You're not napping because
it's interrupting your daily function.
100%. That's when the diagnosis kind of comes in. And people are scared of admitting that they have it because they're scared that they're going to take their child away or that they're going to think they're not a good mom. And it is just a fallacy.
Do you think that you had the postpartum anxiety as a result of knowing so much because
100%.
You're in this field?
Yes, I did. But I also had anxiety from before. So I have a hard time sometimes even saying postpartum to some people because, for example, if you're someone who's been diagnosed with depression before you were pregnant, they're throwing you into a new situation, a change, exhaustion, like I've mentioned, and this whole pressure of breastfeeding, which I think has a lot to do with the exacerbation of your pre-existing condition.
Correct.
I would only call someone postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, if they never had a history of it and it's happening now. The rest, to me, to Dr. Schell, I'm not a psychiatrist.
It's an underlying.
It's an exacerbation or an episode of the pre-existing condition. Yeah. It's what makes more sense to me.
I love that you just said that you just broke it down like that, because it does make sense to think about it in that way. If you already have that pre-existing, that underlying depressive,
it's a risk factor. It contributes, and with the hormonal changes,
it's the same as having a disease that, like asthma. Okay, you have episodes. Guess what? Sometimes the place where you were at makes you have another asthma attack. So it's to me, many are like that. And I think fewer are true postpartum.
Yeah.
And it's hard to diagnose too. A lot
It
of
is.
people go undiagnosed with it. There's a Edinburgh Postpartum Depression Scale. It's a self-administered exam that you can take at home.
But if you lie to yourself, or
Yeah.
you lie
Right.
because you don't want to be caught,
Right.
you
Or
know,
the shame
diagnosed,
that
the
comes
shame,
with,
yes. I don't know
you
why
feel
they're saying,
so
but
ashamed.
But I think that when you're in that stage, instead of being ashamed, you're more scared than anything. Like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah,
you are,
it's
but
both.
you're also, you feel like you're failing as a mother. And there's so much shame that comes with it that if you don't seek help from a professional and get on those SSRIs, on the right medications, it's a downward
and therapy.
yeah.
That's why
Psychotherapy.
Therapy needs to be in there, and I would start therapy before meds, unless you were not diagnosed, and at that point you have zero bonding with your child, and you're having suicidal ideations or homicidal ideations,
Which takes
you
us
need to start
into
medication stat,
that takes us into the postpartum psychosis,
which is extremely rare. But of course, when it happens, it hits the news big, and it scares moms. That's the other thing. It's a very extreme case of postpartum
It's
depression.
visual and auditory hallucinations.
Exactly. And those are the moms that sadly kill their children, kill themselves. And it's horrible. And when you look at that, there was a case of an L&D nurse that committed suicide and killed her child. And she had sought help, and sadly the help was not given correctly, persistently. And this poor woman, I mean, that case really affected me because I'm an OBGYN, and I see all these postpartum nurses all the time, and they're amazing, and they're, great. And
I swear
picking up on
it gives me goosebumps.
it's horrible.
Gives me, because it's like these people that are seemingly,
Normal,
put together, happy.
That's
like
what
you were
scared me.
told, oh, but you're so happy. You don't have
I was not
postpartum.
happy.
We were listening to that TED talk on a woman who seemingly, this professional, happy, put together woman. And she was in her bedroom, and the ceiling fan is telling her, set your children on fire,
Oh my
basically. And thank
So
God
scary.
she is healthy and well enough to now do a TED talk about postpartum depression and what it did, and the postpartum psychosis.
But she was misdiagnosed twice, I believe.
Love to
But
talk to her.
that's why it's important. And for our listeners, whether you're a father, a mother, or a friend, anybody that can pick up on these signs.
Fathers can have postpartum depression, by the way. So
Talk
watch
to
your
us about
husbands.
that.
They have a new role. Usually they have more financial responsibilities. The majority of households have that. Now that's an added stress to this father. And, there is a chauvinistic society where the man cannot cry. The
Right.
man cannot feel sad. And they feel like they're letting down their spouse, and they will never speak up. I mean, let's talk about Robin Williams here. He's a comedian. I cried when he died
Me too.
because you would never expect it. And The Rock came out and said he was depressed. I mean, I admire that. I think he's more of a man for saying
Such courage,
absolutely.
such bravery.
What courage. So you got to watch your husbands too.
Everything affects the family system, especially when it's a first time baby. It affects the entire household. So
And the breastfeeding, I'd love to talk about that if that's okay with you.
Yes,
Because
we definitely want to get into that.
I see so many women. I have this client who broke my heart yesterday. I walked into her house. It was our third time together. And she is a beautiful woman that is strong and capable and a great mom. And when I sat with her, she said, "You're not going to like what I'm going to say." And my brain went to, she's going to say I didn't help her. She's going to say she took money back or something. Like, I thought I had failed her. That was my fear, that I wasn't going to like, that's the only thing I wouldn't like, to fail a mom. So that's where my mind went. And she said, "My baby hates breastfeeding and I hate pumping and I'm not liking this." And my heart broke. I'm like, why would you think that telling me this would, why did you even
change
care
your
what
vision
I would,
about her?
yes, why would you care what I think? And it's this whole postpartum village that is judging moms.
Yes.
They're expecting them to breastfeed. And whenever I post something on Instagram, I posted a reel that says, if you don't like breastfeeding, try pumping. If you don't like pumping, try formula.
Absolutely.
And I got so much backlash. If you're listening, if you could go on my page, honestly, and comment on that, because not for me, for these mothers that are reading the insults I got for saying that, saying like, oh, then send them to a lactation person that actually knows what they're doing, all of this, which of course hurt my feelings, but it's
Dr.
not about
Schell.
me. These moms.
I'm so glad you brought this up. First of all, this is a judgment-free zone.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. Two, unfortunately, the amount of judgment that we as women put on each other and mothers that we put on each other, save your, keep it out of here. Because I love the fact that you have created such a safe space in your social media and everything that you say. I'm getting because I struggled with breastfeeding tremendously. It was not a all rainbows and butterflies, beautiful experience for me at all. And I remember very close friends of mine that were like, well, just learn how to do it, figure it out. And this turned into, oh my God, what's wrong with me as a woman? I'm failing as a mother. It takes you to an unhealthy space.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that, everything that I see on your social media, you're always saying how you yourself, you bottle fed, you breastfed, you pumped, you're creating a safe community, a safe space for women out there. And those of you that were part of the backlashing to you, bye.
No, it's
bye, Felicia.
The problem is this, with my son, because I was an OBGYN, nobody taught me anything about breastfeeding. They assume that they teach us something. Just so you guys know, in residency, I went to one of the best, not to toot my own horn, but it's one of the biggest OBGYN programs in the nation. We had 20 residents per year when at Jackson, you have 6 or 9, something like that. And Jackson's a great program, but this program was humongous. People came from all over to go there. They taught us nothing about postpartum, only mastitis because it's an infection.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have no idea how many people get diagnosed with mastitis when it wasn't mastitis.
Mm-hmm.
It was engorgement. It was an imbalance of bacteria, like a bacterial vaginosis, but of the breast, kind of, which is not an infection. It's an imbalance. All this stuff. I can talk for hours. I know this, I need to talk faster, but it's basically underdiagnosed everything because we don't know, right? So I had to formula feed my son because nobody even said to me, you can pump. Nobody said that to me. With my second, I was so scared. And again, unsupported because when I had a lactation consultant come with my first, I had a bad experience. Also, I probably had postpartum depression, which is why I do this. And maybe I took it personal what she said because of where I was mentally, right? She was like, you're too short. Too short? I can't breastfeed because I'm too short. She's like, you need to put a stool here. I'm like, I've never in my life heard anything like that, but it was just very pressure. And she didn't ask me how I felt.
Empathy and sympathy.
I go to my clients and my first question is, how are you?
Right.
Where are you in this? And I ask them, I get them, hopefully, my majority of my clients start with me around 38 weeks. And I ask them, what's your plan for breastfeeding? I don't say, you're going to breastfeed, right? I ask them what they want to do. Some say, I definitely want to breastfeed. Some say, I want to try it, but if it doesn't work, it's okay. Some say, I don't know, blah, 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 right?
And some others, they don't even know the options that they have available.
And the client that broke my heart yesterday had told me she wanted to breastfeed, right? So the first time I went to her house after she had the baby, she had such a bad experience at the hospital, at the NICU. They traumatized her. And I'm not generalizing, NICU personnel is amazing, but there are bad seeds everywhere, right? And she got a bad seed. So she was traumatized and she didn't want to breastfeed. And I said to her, you told me you wanted to. I need you to let me help you.
Different approach.
Try this because I don't want you to feel guilt later. It is not
or have that regret.
Yes. I want you to look at the newborn stage and say, I tried my hardest. I even hired Dr. Schell. I worked with her and I quit because I couldn't do it. That's fine. There's no guilt there.
Exactly.
But if I would have let her not try, she would have had that guilt later.
And I have to add, because I'm hearing all these different experiences, and unfortunately, like you mentioned, there's good people, good nurses, bad nurses. I was speaking with my sister in Spain, and the same. She had a good experience. The baby latched on. She had no issues. Her friend, her nipples were cracked. She was bleeding through it. Nobody even told her how to care.
People in Spain.
Not to even how to care for her breast, like just in the shower, warm water, massage. And she had a horrible experience. And even the nurses in the postpartum were telling her like they didn't care. So it's a mixture of having the right person that cares and is willing to take the time and teach you.
Yeah.
Like what you're doing, I think it's amazing. And the fact that you're specializing in it, it's great. We need more of you. But it is ultimately for the ladies, like they say with another off topic, but with abortion, it's my body, it's my choice. Breastfeeding should be the same thing. From a scientific point of view, absolutely, breastfeeding is going to lower your risk for postpartum depression. Is going to help with the immunity of the babies. Hormonally wise, it's going to help so many things. But again, for XYZ, whether they're not able to, or they're having a hard time, or they have their mindset already set in another thing, they're still looking out for the best interest of the baby. They just don't want to breastfeed.
Because I'm a doctor, I have to add that colostrum is very important for the baby.
Yes.
If you're out there listening and you don't know what you should do, I would say at least breastfeed during the hospital stay. Get a call with me or with whoever you decide, because I don't like pushing myself on people, but prepare yourself and do it during the hospital stay. At least you got that colostrum and you feel, and you did help your baby, So I do believe that breast milk is superior to formula. That's fine. But pushing that into a mom who is already telling me my rapport with my baby is not great. I haven't had time to enjoy my baby, and it's going south that way.
Yeah.
I believe the intervention is support first.
Absolutely.
Right. Support first. We try. And second, we may have to wean off. And that is something that I get a lot of backlash for.
Well, I want to mention for everybody listening to us, whether you're listening to us right now on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, or you're watching us on YouTube, whatever it is, if you're a woman that you're pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, or you're a man right now and you've had that conversation with your partner, your spouse, whatever, this is information for everyone. I will tell you, and we said it in the beginning of this episode, this is not information that is given to you. They talk to you about pregnancy, but they don't typically tell you what to expect postpartum. So I would suggest, guys, give Dr. Schell a call. Give her a call because she's amazing. And like I said, I love that you've created a very safe space for moms.
That was my goal. That's good. One day, maybe a brick and mortar would be great. If you guys want to invest, give me a call.
And after going back to the video that you mentioned, how much comparison, like a percentage of the ones that supported versus the one that were given the bad comments, you would say, what's it, 50-50?
I think the ones, I think it was a lot of backlash. I think the other people are quiet and ashamed. That's what I think. That's why I'm asking people to go there and like write other things, because the mom that's going through this, who's reading those comments, is hurting, and you're hurting her more by staying silent. So I hope people share that and say there's nothing wrong. Someone even says pumping is breastfeeding. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, but it's not. It's breast milk. Yes, but it's another great option. I did it with my second child. I did it for 4 months. It was such a great experience for me. Pumping was great. Some people hate it. I loved it because we have to
educate people.
Yes. And then with my third ex, we breastfed.
Yeah.
And then she had milk protein allergy and I had to quit because gave it my all for 2 weeks, cutting soy and dairy, which I said I would never do. And I did for 2 weeks. And then when I latched her on again, she was miserable. And I wasn't about to cut eggs and dry fruit. I don't know what was the next step, but I'm like, I can't. Anymore. And I cried a lot. It was horrible.
And every pregnancy is such a different experience.
Yes.
It's such my first breastfeeding experience was not easy. My second one was a walk in the park.
That's awesome.
Yes. So every pregnancy is different, just.
And every postpartum is different.
Yeah. Every baby is different. Every person is different.
I did not enjoy my pregnancies. I will say that. Because I was too anxious. I knew too much.
Yeah.
But my third, actually, in the pandemic, I actually enjoyed the pregnancy more.
Maybe less anxiety to being out there.
Yeah, I was just at home.
And maybe you were a little bit older and you kind of knew like what to expect. And
So guys, I love this topic and I feel like we can and should be educating our audience more, and hopefully they can spread the word. But the main points that we want you to take is about, obviously, there's a lack of education out there. A lot of things will prepare you for the delivery, but what it comes after, unless you have a strong support system, you do your own research and you find specialists like Dr. Schell to help you through it, it becomes harder than what it should. But we want everybody to pick up in those signs for the postpartum blues, postpartum depression, and how to make sure that we don't let those go untreated, because it's gonna do more harm than good, whether it's for the mom, for the entire family system, but ultimately for the baby.
And just to touch on that, Camila, to really touch on the difference of baby blues, guys, it can last up to 2 weeks. Let me talk to the moms right now. If you just had a child and you're feeling maybe a little sad, happy, you're not really sure what's going on, you sometimes cry at the drop of a dime,
like a bottle.
The drop of a bottle. Typically, baby blues will last about 2 weeks post,
and they go away on its own.
And they go away on its own. If it's a little more than that, and it's it's now something that it is maybe interrupting your daily functioning, you're not bonding with your baby. You're really struggling. Your appetite is struggling. You're not sleeping, and this is now lasting up. It could last up to a year, and that would be postpartum depression. As for the postpartum psychosis, if you're feeling any or hearing any auditory delusions, hallucinations, that would be postpartum psychosis. You need to seek help.
911.
911.
Anything else that you think that our audience should know about?
Just be prepared for postpartum. Take classes or hire me to. If you hire me, you don't need any classes.
Let's tell them where to find you on your Instagram.
Dr. Schell Cares. It's DrSchell Cares. And my website is the same.
Dr. Schell Cares on Instagram.
We're going to leave all the information in the video description and our Instagram post, and make sure that you follow,
and I do virtual. You don't have to be in Miami.
Even better. I'm going to tell my sister to tell her friends.
Yes, please. I mean, that's...
Put a seat. I can fix her latch. It was with one visit. I can fix her latch.
Awesome. Yes. Oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm so excited for those of you that actually reached out to us on our Instagram and through our social media that you wanted to hear this topic.
If they want something else for me to come back in another episode, I would love to come back if they have another topic.
Oh yeah.
We will have you back.
They'll have questions.
Yes.
I have questions.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. So thank you guys for tuning in again. We know you could be doing anything else. You could be listening to any other podcast, but you're here with us right now, investing your time, your energy, and we're on this growth journey together. So thank you for tuning in.
And until next time,
bye.